Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Angelo and you are watching one of my wrap-ups which come incredibly late, but I don't care because it's too hot to do anything and I just need to find the perfect time in the day to be able to do this. So here we are going through the readings that I've done during the month of July. So July has been a pretty packed month, both in my personal life and in my reading life. I've read a fuck ton of books which were incredible and some of them were really awful. So I feel like it was pretty balanced out. So why don't we start right away? And if you notice that I moved a little bit on this side, it is because we're also going through the Reader's Gauntlet, which is a challenge, a year-long challenge that Base Read here on YouTube has started that gives you prompts to choose your reads throughout the year. So while also reading what I want, I'm kind of trying to fit all of the books into the prompts that I'm missing. And so you're gonna see the graphics here, and we're gonna see my progress in it and how far along I will be. So the first book that I finished in the month of July was Foundling Fathers by Meg Ellison. This is a novella that I was given as an art because this came out this June. And it is a novella that revolves around the four founding fathers of the United States, but in modern times. We follow their story as they find a mobile phone like near the toilet and discover a whole new world of modernity and the past of their mother. So I gave this story a 3-star rating because I thought it was super funny and super innovative. It was like something that I had never read before, but I feel like this being a novella kind of downgraded the possibilities that this could have reached. I honestly think that if this was written to be a novel, like an entire novel, and it had the time to develop the characters and the story and the plot twist that were initially intended for the story and were unfortunately rushed because the author had little time or like a small amount of pages to write this on, it would have been so much better. So I did find 2 prompts to fit this in. Luckily, one of them was of course the new release challenge, which prompts you to read a new release for every month, and this came out in June, so it will go to cover the June spot, and that brings us to 6 out of 12 of the spots there. The second prompt that I used this for was the alphabet challenge, and how I'm doing this is I'm using the author's surname to fill this out, which I'm now realizing that is taking a lot from me, and I shouldn't have done that because it's just like complicating everything, but we started it, so whatever. So the author's surname is Elison, so this will go to the E spot, bringing us to 13 out of 26. Second book that I finished this month was Loved One by Aisha Muharrar. This was a huge release of last year that I had not been interested in reading last year because I thought it was romance and I don't really read romance, but I have reevaluated when I heard somebody else talking about this, because this is not a love story, this is a story on grief. This is the story of a girl whose best friend dies tragically out of the blue, and in a moment where they were not really speaking or were not in the best terms. And this is the story of how she deals with it and how she reconnects with their past. And it has honestly been such a surprise for me. I have loved this book so much. It has made me cry, and I loved the found family aspect of it. I loved the way that the author talked about grief and how the character was living through it. And it was just like a 5-star for me. I have really loved this, and if you were like me a little hesitant into picking this up, please do. I have loved this, and I do highly suggest the audiobook because it's just like, it's really nice. It's really nice. It has been chosen for the Rainbow Challenge because the cover is predominantly yellow, and yellow was a color that I was missing. So I'll be putting that into the yellow spot, bringing us to 5 out of 7. And the second prompt that I used this for was the alphabet challenge, because we're trying to work on that as hard as we can, because they are 26 books, and so I'm a little panicky over here. And I used this for the M spot, bringing us to 14 out of 26. The third book that I finished was another 5-star. This was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Everybody has read this, everybody has loved this, everybody has given this 5 stars. And so I was really looking for an audiobook to follow up on a loved one, and I found this one on Libby, and this has totally fulfilled all of my hopes on this book and all of my expectations. This is a story of a guy who gets kidnapped and wakes up into a world where everybody knows him, but he doesn't know anybody around him. And it's just so trippy. It really makes you like wonder of possibilities and how your life could go if you had taken different paths. It's just like incredible and engrossing and captivating. I have loved this one. 5 stars. And I used this for only one prompt. Unfortunately, we are really running low on prompts, so I should focus on those more, but whatever. And I chose to use this for the trope tracker, which prompts you to read based on different tropes. And I feel like this really fits the reluctant hero trope, so that's where I put it, bringing us to 6 out of 9. Continuing on with my 5-star streak, I read The Spear That Cuts Through Water by Jimenez. I knew when going into this book that I was going to enjoy it. This is a fairy tale-like story of 2 warriors who are assigned a quest to bring a spear to another warrior across the kingdom, while the kingdom itself and its government is tumbling down, and the tyranny that characterizes it is in fact breaking and reversing onto the people of the land. I wasn't going fast with this. I did have to push through because the pacing is a little slower, and I feel like the story is kind of confusing. Honestly, I had never seen a story before that was told in first person, second person, and third person kind of at the same time. And so it was really confusing at times, and there were really a lot of details that composed the world building, because the world building was just so magical. And if I could like tie this up with like a genre, I would call this a fairy tale for adults. And I would also put The River Has Roots and Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I feel like those belong in the same genre, and I have loved and I have given 5 stars to all of them. So this was really nice. It was super queer, which I loved. I used this for 2 prompts, luckily. One was the trope tracker for the slow burn, which brings us to 7 out of 9. And then the second one, which I'm still rethinking a little bit, is the rainbow challenge for the green, because I know it is like a lot of blue, there's a lot of blue in the cover, but the main thing in the cover, which is the hand, is green, so it makes sense, right? Thank you. Ending the streak of 5 stars is Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. This was a huge disappointment for me. I thought the concept was super cool. This takes place in a dystopian world in which animal meat is not edible anymore because of a virus, and how society copes is they start eating human flesh. They start producing and breeding humans for their meat. I thought the concept was super captivating, interesting as fuck, but this was super repetitive, and it was just disappointing overall. I didn't think that the story was written properly. I don't think it was laid out properly and really thought out in the way that it was supposed to be. So I've given this 2 stars, and I used this for 2 prompts as well. One was the subgenres challenge, which kind of gives you the possibility to choose a genre and read 6 of its subgenres. So I chose horror, and this was classified as a dystopian horror, so it does fit the prompt, bringing me to 4 out of 6. So we're basically there. And the second one, which I think is the coolest challenge out of all of them, is the blurb challenge, which prompts you to read one book which is blurbed by an author. And so you're gonna read that author's novel and then find an author that blurbed that one and read that one as well. So it's like 3 books overall. Augustina Bazterrica did have a blurb on We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver, and so this is step 2 in the blurb challenge. I'm not gonna spoil what the 3rd book in the challenge is because I already picked it out, but the author did have a blurb on this one. So then I read Heartstopper Volume 5, which I couldn't use in any challenge at all, but since this is also a wrap-up, I do want to quickly talk about it. I do not want this series to end. I'm kind of hesitant into picking up the 6th and final book. I just don't want this to end. This was truly lovely. I gave this 4 stars. And what I really love about this volume especially was the way that identity was talked about outside of a relationship, while also dealing with queerness and also mental health. I feel like Osman does an incredible job at portraying that, even in a graphic novel, which, you know, you are not as facilitated with the words as you might be, well, when writing a novel. So I really love this series. I love the characters, I love the story, and I can't wait to pick the next book up, even if it's gonna be super sad. The last book that I'm gonna talk to you about is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This is a book that I picked up with my friend, with whom I read another series with, and we were looking for another one to start together. This was unfortunately a little disappointing. So this is a story about a group of elderly people in a, how do you call, like those houses that they stay at when they're old. How they spend their time is they form this club to talk and try to solve unsolved murders from, you know, their local police. And this all collides into a current episode of murder happening in their town or like in their vicinity, and so they take it upon themselves to try and solve it. So I gave this 3 stars. This wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it didn't feel captured like I wanted to be from a mystery novel. I wasn't stuck to the page like I wanted to be. And also there is a POV in this which makes no sense to be there, and it's super annoying, and it just either repeats stuff that you've read in other chapters, or it just adds random facts that do not have any correlation with the story, except for like maybe one chapter. The rest is just pure garbage. Like, it's just so useless. But I did end up using this for 1 prompt, which is a physical TBR, because as you can see, I do have this physical copy, and it was just sitting on my shelf, and I finally picked it up. So this brings us to 2 out of 3. So I'm really excited to finish that soon. That brings us to the end of this video. I really hope I don't take as long for August, especially since I'm not really filming a reading vlog. I started to, but it was not working with my shifts and everything. I just couldn't. So I hope not to be disappointing again. But in the meantime, I really hope you did enjoy this. I also wanna put the final and updated board here to see what my progress is, and same goes for my personal goal, which is to read 60 books. We are currently at 42. So thank you again for being with me and keeping me company, and I hope I did the same for you. and I will see you in August. Bye.